Tired of feeling like you're spinning all the plates in your design business and at any moment they could all come crashing down? Are you feeling like you're so close to breaking through to the next level, but those consistent projects still aren't flowing your way? Are you ready to finally take your business from a hobby to 100K and beyond? Then welcome to the SixFigure Designer podcast. I'm talking all the techniques you need in your design business to start paying yourself, get great clients, and finally break through that 5-figure ceiling. Well, hello, my friends. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me again for another episode of the podcast. And today we're going to be talking about, can you believe that 2025 is literally just around the corner? And I want to talk to you today about what's going on behind the scenes in my Luxury Client Academy with my other coaching clients and how we're preparing now for 2025 and how we're looking at what has happened in 2024 and how we want to move ahead so that you can take some of these tips and incorporate them in your own business. Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Durkin. I'm the closing coach for interior designers, and I help interior designers just like you close bigger and better projects in your design business. And I do that through the Luxury Client Academy, which is my 9-month coaching experience where I help you triple your profits over the 9 months that we work together. If you want to know more about the Luxury Client Academy, all the information is in the show notes, so you can go ahead and check that out. So let's just dive right in. It's crazy that 2025 is literally around the corner. And I'm wondering for you, do you actually plan for the year ahead at all? And do you go ahead and look back at what happened during the previous year? And maybe as a creative, you think, oh my gosh, this is so boring. This is so dull. I want to do more creative things. Well, guess what? This is how you get to do bigger and better projects. This is how you get to be creative in the new year, is by planning right now. So I love this time of year because it kind of slows down a little bit. Everyone's in a really, really good mood. And it just feels like you're getting ready for that fresh start. 2025's coming around, January's coming around. And you just feel like, clean slate. We start over. We can forget what ever happened in the previous year, which we actually wouldn't want to forget. But we can feel like we have that new beginning, that new start. Like whatever we want to accomplish is achievable, right? We have that idealistic feeling right at the beginning of the year. So I also think that really the week between Christmas and New Year's, because it's so quiet, universally, that it's such a great time to slow down a little bit, just enjoy an extra cup of coffee in the morning, sit with your family and hang out, and then also have that space to not be worrying about making all those calls and checking those items off the list and doing all those emails, some space in terms of like, what happened this year? What worked? What didn't work? What do I really want to do? Let me evaluate. So we've been doing a lot of that work in the Luxury Client Academy because we're gearing up for forecasting in the new year. So I'm wondering, do you just look ahead when you plan? Do you even plan in your own business? Do you look at the past and sort of debrief what has happened in your business? And I hope that you are doing that. But if not, after this podcast, I hope this is something that you're going to start incorporating in your business. And of course, if you want help with that, this is what we do. This is what we do in the Luxury Client Academy is I help you really dial in what's going on in your business and where is the focus going to be moving forward and why. Why are we doing that? What's really working and what's really not working? So when you plan, it actually sounds like it could be really, really tedious. But to be honest with you, as a creative, it can be incredibly inspiring and exciting and creative because now you get to open up and brainstorm about what can I do here? What would be cool? Where am I seeing an opportunity in my business where people are asking for something and I just have always turned them away or have decided that I'm not doing it? Now's the time to say, wow, could this be an opportunity for me to do something really wonderful and creative in my business and also make money because people are asking for it. So this is a great time of year for all of that. So, one of the things that I want you to be thinking about is not only looking forward, but also looking behind for trends and for debriefing yourself. And we're going to talk about what we're actually doing and some examples of what's happening as we're doing this planning with my coaching clients in the Luxury Client Academy. So, let's just talk about why you should even think about planning if you have not ever done it before, or if you've maybe done it very loosely, maybe all in your head. Maybe you've written a couple notes down, but once January's gone, you never revisit that again. That is one thing. So, piece of advice is as we're going through this planning process, you want to be revisiting what you thought was going to be the plan for the year. You want to be revisiting that at least quarterly. And you want to be seeing a couple things. You want to be seeing, one, if you're on track, and two, if something has changed, because you've heard me talk about this so many times. The answers are in the work, and you don't know so many things about running a business or trying a new program in your business, or offering a new service. You don't know fully what that's going to look like until you try it and you get some feedback, you get some additional information. So as you're going through this, you got to go back and look at, you know, are you going to adjust quarterly, right? Something, maybe you've learned something now that you didn't know when you first started, and you're like, oh, we need to make an adjustment here. We either need to adjust our price or our approach, or maybe we're going after, maybe we're talking to the wrong people in this market about this service. So those adjustments as you go forward, it's not a set it and forget it, but it's something that you do need to be revisiting at least quarterly. So here's why I think planning really helps, and it's really exciting, and it's actually going to get you where you want to go very specifically in your business. First thing is you're going to see what's working and what's not working. So many times we try things and we think they're going to be great. And in the end, and you have to do this by looking back. Like, you can't just be like, well, we'll just keep trying and trying and trying and trying and never really evaluating, is this working, or do we need to tweak it, or whatever. So you can see what's working really well, maybe what's not working or not working right now. Like, it's something that you want to keep doing, but you're just going to have to change your approach. So that is one of the great things about planning. And then you get to make decisions on, what to shed. It's okay to stop doing some things in your business that, as you're looking back or as you're going through them, you're like, yeah, this sounded like a great idea, or we thought this was going to work because we were going to have someone in our office handle this part of something that you're doing, and it's really not working. It's not profitable. We don't like it. It's really clunky, and it's just not working in various ways. So you want to figure out what is a good thing to start shedding. So let's stop doing that. It wasn't worth doing, right? And then the other thing is what I mentioned earlier, is what to keep evaluating. Something that seems like it could be a really good add-on value to your service, or a new, dealing with maybe a new vertical in your business, which would be a new area of business, like developing a specific area of your business that's slightly different than the other items that you currently offer. So maybe there's some things that's like, let's stop doing this. Let's start doing this new thing. And then last one is, let's keep evaluating this one item. So I want to give you an example of one of my coaching clients. She was sort of debriefing on what was going on in her business, and she said, along the lines of maybe adding a service, she said, people keep asking me to help them with finished selections. Builders keep asking me to help with finished selections. And primarily her business, she likes to come in after the home is done or renovated or built and strictly do furnishings, window treatments, artwork, accessories. Like, that is totally her jam. And so hard surfaces, she's kind of shied away from. She's tried working on some renovations and working on some new builds. And she's just determined that for the long haul and for what it is, and for how long that process takes before you get to what she really wants to do, which is the furnishings, accessories, window treatments. To her, it just wasn't worth it. But what she was thinking is, as she was evaluating what happened this year, she's like, I keep getting asked to do some finished selections. And I think it could be a great way to establish a relationship with a client who's moving into a new home to then take them to do the thing that I really want to do, which is all, make the home a home, make it pretty, make it wonderful, get all those beautiful pieces in place. So she's like, I think there's an opportunity here, but I know I don't like to be involved, say, for 6 months or 12 months ahead of time, just doing drawings and finishes and all this other stuff. So we started talking about that. And in the coming year, she's going to create what we call a micro offer. So a micro offer is something that is very quick, very small in scope, and has a very contained timeline around it. And it's going to be specifically meeting these needs of finished selections. Now, what she has determined that she wants to do is literally be involved in the selections only. So she doesn't want to be doing the drawings. She doesn't want to be doing the project management. She doesn't want to be doing any of the ordering or dealing with any of those logistics. She literally just wants to be working on those selections. And what she's going to do is create this micro offer that has a very tight container and has a fee attached to it that makes her happy, that is worthwhile for her to get to know a client. And then, basically, we've heard this before from me, let them fall in love so that when they're ready for that next step, which is all the furnishings, that she's the one that they're going to call. So the other thing you can even think about this in your business is almost like a loss leader. So this is, you could think about this is marketing dollars, right? So you're paying, or you're maybe taking less of a fee so that you can get your foot in the door with someone. I'm not saying that you need to do this or that you should do this. I'm just saying, how much could a client be worth to you? So for instance, if a client is worth $100,000, would you be willing? Is it worthwhile? Would you be willing to take a little bit of a less of a fee to get these finished selections to evaluate as how many times these actually turn into full-blown furnishings projects? These are all things to consider when you're looking to do something new in your business. Is like, what's the end game here? For her, really the end game is she doesn't really want to do the finished selections, but she's thinking of how can I get my foot in the door earlier, before a client has even thought about furnishings? How can I get my foot in the door and get in their mind and establish a relationship with someone really, really early on? So when they get to furnishings, I'm the only one that they want to talk to. They've already fallen in love with me. We've already established a relationship. So that is a micro offer that she's going to be starting come January. And that really only came from sort of debriefing about what happened in the previous year or what's happened in 2024. Um, Having some time to talk through, you know, something that people kept asking for, that in the rush of day-to-day running a design business, you might not always be fully paying attention to it, because you're trying to get the other stuff done. But when you have this time to talk through with somebody and have some quietness to think about what happened over the previous year, this is how planning can really help you decide, where to go, at least for the first quarter of next year, and how this could develop into really something really, really good for your business. So I would have you consider thinking about even doing a micro offer in your business too, as well, and just see how it goes. See what people are asking for. How can you start incorporating that? It's sort of like the do you want fries with that upsell? What can you do? How can you package it in a way that meets their needs, but then also is satisfying for you, meaning you're being well compensated for it. There's a means to an end. There's a reason for doing that. So that's just one example of one of the things that we've been doing with my clients in the Luxury Client Academy, which is all about planning and debriefing and looking at what's working, what's not working, and sort of what's next in your business. So, we're doing all of this planning, believe it or not. We're doing it now. We've been actually doing it for quite a while because this process takes several weeks. This isn't, or, sort of like a one day thing because I'm asking a lot of my coaching clients in terms of what were your numbers last year? What were your profitability? Where's your business coming from? What are people asking for? I mean, there's tons of questions that we're talking about. And so this is all happening over, this has been going on for several weeks and will continue for the month of December. So we've actually been using the last 6 weeks to, start dreaming about what 2025's going to look like and why it's going to look that way. So we do that because there's a couple reasons why this is a drawn out process. First of all, we make it a little bit enjoyable. Second of all, I know that you as designers are running businesses and that maybe you have people working for you and you have clients that want things done by the end of the year and you have a life outside of the office. And this time of year can be extremely hectic for everybody because there's just so many things going on. So we need to have the ability to fit this in because it is incredibly important. And we don't want it to be so awful that you don't do it because it really needs to get done. So that's one of the reasons it's a multi-week process. And there's a lots of different angles and items to be looking at so that we can digest the information and talk about the information. And I'm a firm believer in this idea of let it simmer. We have to, I feel, work through some items, think of some new things we want to offer in our business, think about or even bring up maybe what's not working, and then let that subconscious mind kind of work through the problems. And I'm always finding that the next day, what didn't seem clear the day before has come into focus. So I always feel like letting it simmer a little bit in the back of our minds really helps us get some really good clarity on that. And then the final thing is that, hey, we're doing that planning now so that in January, we know exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what is the plan for the new year. So you're hitting the ground running. So here's some of the things that you need to know in your own business. These are what I'm asking of my clients right now. You need to know your numbers. You need to know how much top line money you did last year. You need to know how much you did in fees, how much you did in purchases. You need to know what types of clients you have. What if you're doing residential, if you're doing commercial, if you're doing renovation, if you're doing new builds, if you're doing all those things, which so many of you are, you need to know that. You also need to know where your leads are coming from. And if this sounds daunting to you, this is what we're doing in the Luxury Client Academy is I help you with this. And it's really kind of exciting because one of the things that I've recently rolled out to my coaching clients is a tracking system that is extremely comprehensive. It has a dashboard which kind of rolls everything up and tells you where you sit in terms of numbers and your next steps in terms of who you should be contacting and when. And it also talks about where clients are or potential projects are in your pipeline. And it's also tracking your vendor conversations because I'm such a big fan of vendor referrals and you can get so many amazing quality and quantity leads from your vendors. So it's tracking all those conversations so that you can know when you should be reaching out to various people. So it's kind of exciting. We're doing that dashboard right now, and we're doing all these breakdowns as to where their projects are coming from, what kind of projects they are, how much they were, if they were profitable, and all of that. So it's actually a very comprehensive look as to what's happening in their business. And then we're doing a whole forecast forecast by quarter of the types of projects that we anticipate them getting, and what they think is going to happen. And we're going to be revisiting that throughout the course of the year so that we can see where we need to make adjustments. Maybe they're not closing enough. Maybe they're having some issues with the type of clients they're getting. So we can make those adjustments. So not, we don't have to look at this in December and go, what happens? How did we go awry? No, we already know because we've been checking, at least quarterly as to what's going on and where things stand in their business. So this is why this is, again, a multi-step process because it's so incredibly comprehensive and we're looking at so many different elements. We're tracking those referrals, like who is the referral? Where did they come from? How did we get to know them? What are our next steps? How many referrals, are we getting from any one person? And then also tracking how many referral sources, active referral sources do we have? Because that's a really good thing to know. So we get together and just so you know, if you were to work with me in the Luxury Client Academy, you would get your own tracking sheet, which is specifically between you and me. It's not something we share with the group. It's literally something that we go over together, and then you can access the entire time that you're in that program to be looking at all this information. So you always know where you stand. I know that there are so many programs out there that help designers with pricing and dealing with clients and getting clients to approve items to order or design fees. And that is incredible. But I'm finding that there's really nothing out there that's tracking these referral conversations, that's tracking what's happening with your clients that you are, wooing, that you're trying to get, right? Where they are in the process. And that's a really, really important part of your business because so many of you have told me that getting great clients and getting steady business is a huge, huge factor in your interior design business. And it's really hard to do it all. I mean, I totally get it because most of you are also, and rightfully so, want to keep designing and keep doing all of that. But all those details of once we get a project are pretty comprehensive. And we also need an easy way to be saying, how can I carve marketing time out? How can I carve networking time out in my business because it's incredibly important? But how can I do it in the most focused and easiest way possible? And that's what this dashboard is all about, is so that you literally can go in and check out where you're at with your dashboard at any time. And it's a really easy, comprehensive way for you to do that so that you can stay on top of keeping in touch with people and marketing and networking, which is, as you know, so important on having a steady pipeline of business. So, when you get that tracking sheet, and I think it's really helpful for you to have something to be looking at all times. And, some of the things are coming out as we're doing these sheets, which is, I talked about the microservice that came about from that one client. Another client, actually, very interestingly enough, she did over 7 figures last year. So she had over $1 million business, interior design business. And as we were going back and looking at what happened in the previous year, she was like, wow, what did she say? She has 2 different levels of service, which is like a medium service and then full scope, full home service. And she went back and looked and she said, I had 14 medium projects, and she's like, that's crazy. Because as she was evaluating it, she was saying those medium projects for her at the time, that she's in her business, she has a couple staff people. She was like, they take up as much time and energy as those full scope projects. So now she's thinking, how can I in 2025 be making sure that I'm putting my time into marketing to get larger projects? And then also when I get these calls for these smaller projects, I can be looking at how many I have and deciding if it's worth doing at that time so that I'm hyper aware. She is now very aware of how many medium projects she's going to have going on in any given year because she was just finding that having so many of them of that smaller size was really um, just a lot of work, and she didn't think it was actually worth it. So that was really interesting. And she said, I had no idea. I absolutely had no idea that I had done this many small projects over the year. And now I realize why I'm so freaking exhausted because she was doing really, really large projects and then all these really, really small projects. And she's like, wow, in the new year, I'm going to focus my energies and be tracking how many of these projects I have going on at any one time and really being aware of um, whether or not I'm going to take something of a smaller size when I get that call because I can go back and look at my dashboard in the Luxury Client Academy and see where I'm at, see where my project mix is coming in for the year so far. So again, another reason for tracking, I mean, sometimes you're running your business, and rightfully so. And you may not even be aware of what you're taking on and what you're doing because here again, it's like seems sacrilegious to say no or to turn someone away. It just seems like a really weird thing to do. And you have to be establishing some minimums and some boundaries as to what you're going to do in the new year. And it really helps you because when you're in the moment talking to a client, of course, you want to be helpful and you want to say, yes, we will help you. We will do whatever we can. But I think establishing ahead of time where you want to sit with the size of projects you're taking, the number of each of that product mix we project mix, small, medium, and large, or just medium and large, you can go back and kind of look at that and see where you want to be. And then you can very confidently on a call be like, listen, I'm booked for this type of project that we have all that we're going to take at this size of project at this time. So at this time, I'm not going to be able to help you moving forward. So I think that's just a really empowering moment in your own business to understand where you want to be as you move in to 2025. The other item, of course, we're always talking about profitability. Like profitability is really, really important. I don't think bigger always means better. And of course, you need to know your projects are profitable. I don't really care if you have a 7-figure business if you're not making any money. Like to me, I would rather you have a smaller business, a 6-figure business, and making really, really good profit because now you know how to make money on projects and then you can scale from there. If you're doing a lot of volume but not a lot of profit, I think you need to evaluate that because I also think that when you do a lot of volume with very little profit, you have to look at, is it worth it, right? Because now you've got maybe multiple staff people working for you and could you be doing less top line number and making it more profitable and having more of an enjoyable life outside of work? I don't know. I think that that's something that we should always be looking at is this profitable? And it doesn't the top line number isn't always I get it that it's an ego number and it sounds great. I did $1 million in business this year. I have a 7-figure business. That sounds wonderful as long as you're making money. That's my only thing is I want you to be profitable wherever you are at in your business. If you're making 6 figures and you're profitable, yay. And you're paying yourself. That's the other thing. And you're paying yourself. Let's remember that. One of my clients we were working through these numbers and she gave me what it cost her to run her business every month. And I was like, wow, that seems really tight. You're paying yourself in that number as well. And she's like, oh, no, that's separate. And I'm like, well, okay. Running your business and figuring out how much it costs you to run your business every month includes paying yourself. Because if you're not paying yourself, what are we doing? And if you are at a point in your business that you can't pay yourself yet, you need to know where that needs to be comfort-wise. So you can't be a charity case forever. It's not sustainable for you or your business. So we're always looking at what's that minimum viable income that you need every month to make this a business that is worthwhile continuing, right? So that's, again, another thing that we do as we evaluate your business because we need to know And you need to know, how much does it cost me to run my business, including paying myself? So incredibly, incredibly important. Um, the other thing is sometimes we evaluate things that aren't working, right? As we go back. One of my clients was doing paint consultations. She was working with a paint company. They were doing paint consultations for a very, very small fee. You heard me talk this, earlier in this episode about a loss leader. So this was a loss leader for her. She was doing it for a very, very small fee. And they were paint consultations. And the idea was, let's do a paint consultation. It's a high-end paint store. So, definitely, getting to a better type of client. Let's do the paint consultations. Let's do them for, a very attractive price so that we can establish ourselves in certain areas, in certain neighborhoods, and be able to talk to clients about, oh, you're painting. So let's, maybe you want to do some other things in your home. And she was doing this for a pretty long time. And I finally said to her, well, let's look at some of the numbers to see what's happening with the paint consultations. So we went back and looked. She went back and looked. So this is, part of the homework part. She went back and looked and saw that over the course of, I don't even know what the time frame was, but maybe 8 or 10 months, she had done 82 paint consultations. Now, she wasn't doing all of them. She had somebody in her office doing them. So they did 82 paint consultations. And I said, okay, great. How many of those consultations turned into something beyond the consultation, turned into some kind of project? Are y'all sitting down for this one? I hope you are. She went back and looked. First of all, she did not know when I asked her, which is fine. But she went back and looked and ran the numbers. Okay, guys. 82 paint consultations, which, paint consultations, I think you got to get there. You got to get back to the office. So that's time. And then, maybe they were there an hour or two. So let's just say 3 to 4 hours. And also not making really a lot of money, but just sort of enough to cover the person's time that was doing it. 82 paint consultations. How many turned into real projects? One project out of 82. Now, and that wasn't even a great project. So that didn't even cover the other things, all the other time. So I said to her, I'm not sure you want to keep doing these paint consultations. It was a lot of management on the part of the office. Not only was it just the paint consultations, but then they would run them through a series of emails to try to, continue the relationship with them and to also warm them up to other services. And so there was a multi-step process that required multiple people in the office, not only the person doing the paint consultations, but then someone in the office administratively to make sure and to check on where these people were in the email sequences. So needless to say, my recommendation was to stop doing paint consultations because they're not working. It's not a technique that's getting you where you want to go. We also talked about having her go back to the paint store because what was happening is they were just offering that to anyone and everyone that came in the door. They were offering the paint consultation, which, of course, everyone was like, yes, please, we would love that. But, the tweak was, let's go back and only offer our paint consultation services to homes of a certain value and up or in certain neighborhoods, because that was really more likely. So this came as a tweak, which she's been working on. So I'd be curious to see how that goes as we debrief over the next couple months on that adjustment. We were talking about adjustments. But yeah, 82 paint consultations with one project that really wasn't that great to begin with. Yeah, it needs evaluation there. You have to be looking at that because that's a lot of time and energy to be putting into something that may not be working. So this is why we go back and we talk and we plan. And then as we were going through with my coaching clients, like the types of projects, the profitability, the size, because we are all in love with big projects, right? Of course, we all want the whole house project, which sounds great and it is great. It's very efficient for our time. But one of the aha moments came when we were kind of talking about like how to evaluate a project if price and size were not an issue. What's another evaluator in terms of whether or not we want to do these types of things? And this is what some of the designers said. What did I spin my wheels on a lot over the past year? So what did you spin your wheels on? What do you feel like you were just, I call it dusting. It's just sort of like you're running around and doing a lot of stuff, but then nothing comes of it. What did you do this year where you spin your wheels a little bit? How often did my consults turn into projects? Whether or not you offer consults for free, or if you offer, I would say free is not a consult, free is just a sales call. So if you're doing them, if you're not charging for those initial meetings, I kind of want you to change your mindset on what those actually are. They're not consultations. Those are sales calls. Sales calls are just to gather the information about the project. It is not to provide free design advice so that they can just do whatever they want. So that's how I approach my projects. They are basically sales calls. So if you're charging, then those can be consultations. But so how often did your sales calls or your consults turn into projects? You want to be looking at that and figuring out what's going on there because, of course, sales calls and consults are a lot of time and effort. So are they working? And if they're not working, why is that? What's happening there? We have to evaluate a host of factors as to why that might not be working. How many projects left you emotionally exhausted? I'm laughing because, geez, we have so many projects that can leave us emotionally exhausted. Is it because of the people? Is it because of the size? Is it because of the budget? Is it because of the location? So many factors there. How many projects left you emotionally exhausted? This is like another factor that we're using in evaluating projects throughout the year, not just size and profitability. And the universal thought was between all the designers was we want projects that we're proud of. And I'm sure you do too. Projects that make you proud, that are more energizing than draining. Ones that make you feel like you've actually made a difference, that you were appreciated for bringing your creativity to this project, that you were part of a team, right? That you were a valued member of the team. I think that's what we all want. But these are also things to consider when you're thinking and evaluating about what happened this past year. So, as we're doing all of that, we went back and looked at their project mix, which could be small, medium, and large. Maybe it's just medium and large. I talked to a designer a couple weeks ago. She only does large projects. So, whatever your project mix, whatever works for you. We looked at the fees and the profitability there. And then we also looked at this is like the big aha moment. We also looked at how much did I enjoy it related to how much stress it caused. And we assigned 2 projects. So not only did we say these were great, great clients, loved the size, great budget, all that great stuff, right? But then third factor or fourth factor is how much did I enjoy it related to how much stress it caused? And we assigned a like, a dislike, and a neutral to those projects and took a hard look at why they felt that way about those particular projects. And it really brought into focus what they were willing to keep exploring in their business in terms of types of projects and which ones now they were like, nope, we know now that we need to walk away from certain opportunities when they come up because we're seeing things. Or conversely, you don't always know. I mean, sometimes clients put on good faces in the beginning and they're really very, you know, sweet and personable and charming. and then you get into the project and they've changed. And that can happen, and it does happen. It's reality. We're not going to perfectly identify every client every time. But along those lines, at what point do you go ahead and say, yeah, this isn't working. We need to part ways? And that happens. We talk about that a lot in the Luxury Client Academy is when is it time to part ways? And several clients have been fired over the last few months because of these very things, which is how exhausting is this? Is it worth it? Even if you're making money, if it's exhausting, is it worth it? And knowing what some of those projects look like are incredibly helpful to create those boundaries um, moving forward. So as we were looking at the like, dislike, and neutral, they were making those appropriate adjustments because I suspect that as you go through the dislikes, you look at what do these all have in common, it becomes a little bit clearer as to what's really going on there. So again, it's not only financial, but like how certain projects take away your energy or add to your energy or really inspire you. Because this also affects how you work the entire year. Like if you taking on 14 small projects and you're wondering why you're exhausted, this is why. This is why you're exhausted. And how can we change the approach so next year you're taking maybe 7 small projects and figuring out how to get 1 or 2 bigger projects in its place. The final thing that we did while we were working over the last couple weeks is we identified our top 10 contacts, people that we wanted to get to know, people that we wanted to nurture or work with in the new year. So now we're going to be developing ways to nurture, get to know, make contact with these people so that we're increasing our referral opportunities. So now we have a game plan moving forward. Day one, come 2025, which is incredible. We're not spending, all of January planning and figuring it out and trying to carve out time as the new year has begun. This is the roadmap that we refer to throughout the whole year. Again, revisiting that at least quarterly. So this is exactly what I work on with you in the Luxury Client Academy. And this is only like one thing. This is incredibly comprehensive program where we spend a lot of time together working through what's going on in your business, what your challenges are, and specifically talking through situations as they come up, because that's what's happening right now is, we're meeting and talking about this situation happened. How should I address it? How should I get that next meeting with this builder? How should I figure out how to get in touch with this realtor that I've been wanting to work with in my area for years? And these are all the things that we are diving into in the Luxury Client Academy to ultimately get you those luxury projects, those luxury clients, and, tripling your profits over the next year. And with this incredible dashboard that I've just implemented in the academy, you really have an opportunity to see where you stand at any given moment in your business, which is so helpful, gives you so much clarity, and it doesn't become something that gets unmanageable because you're like, listen, I see we wanted to have 2 medium projects and 1 large project by, the end of February, and we're not there yet. What do we need to do now to try to close 1 large project in the next so many weeks? Who do I need to contact? What do I need to do? And it really gives you an idea on focus so that you know that, okay, maybe this week I'm not posting 5 days a week on Instagram because I'm my social media manager, but maybe this week I'm only posting once and then I'm making calls, right? Or then I'm going to a few events so that I can really try to make contacts to close this one big project over the next, several weeks. It's really helpful to have that roadmap and those parameters, those boundaries as to what you should be working on next. So I encourage you, if you're interested in the Luxury Client Academy, to reach out to me. All my information is in the show notes. I hope that this has helped you think about over the next few weeks as we end the year and begin 2025, how you can dive into some of the information on your business and be really well aware and educated as to what's happening in your business, the type of projects you want to start going after, how you want to evaluate those numbers, how you evaluate projects moving forward. I think it will help you give you some clarity and some boundaries around that. Of course, if you want help with any of this, I would be happy. I would love to help you in your interior design business go through all of this and more and help you get to that next level in your business to help you get those profits tripled in your business over the next 9 months. So again, if you want to join the Luxury Client Academy, please reach out to me. I hope the planning has helped you. I hope you took lots of notes today. And I would love to hear any feedback that you have on this planning session and how you're moving forward in 2025. And I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.